the war put lots of things off, and it postponed the dieselization of the railroads for a good 10 years because, number one, they needed all the components that would go into diesel power for the war effort. And so steam was made to last for another 10 years, and even new locomotives that were ordered during the wartime period were steam instead of diesel for the most part, simply because the components that went into diesels were more needed for the war effort than basically the blacksmith type components that were involved with steam power.
So the perfecting of the diesel was there, but
oh yes, the diesel came along.
Dictated otherwise.
The diesel came along and had made substantial inroads in the 1930s in yard work and terminal work, and was on the threshold of bursting onto the main line when World War II occurred, and that postponed it until the 50s.
Yeah. Harold, any thought about this picture here as we see this item 72 here, Bud Lighter?
No, it was...
I like that baggage wagon there in the depot.
Yeah. It's still there.
Yeah. Is it really?
It's still there. Yeah. There's still one there just like that.
I remember loads of mail would be thrown onto there to be carried up to the post office up the street a ways.
That's right.
And the Express, that used to... They used to fill those carts up with the Express stuff and bring it over to the station, which had a unit that then people would have to come and pick the stuff up.
Yeah. Okay, and this last picture here is an interesting one, Richard. What are we looking at?
We're looking at a picture of a diesel shifter. Again, the same as the 400 class steam locomotives. It was strictly a yard engine and a shifting engine. And they're down on Cabot Street, going down the track from the chemical terminal, which is down where the Tux Point condominiums are today, and they're down in front of McDonald's hamburgers, as you can see in the background on the right side. And this track was in use from about 1900 up until the late 70s or very early 80s, when that chemical terminal was done away with and trains no longer ventured down Water Street. But this is a fine picture of that operation. That was taken by a good friend of ours, Russell Monroe.
Okay, this is dated January 65, a recent picture in terms of time. Now, the trains that we see running today back and forth through Beverly, are there any changes or improvements in them that we haven't yet mentioned here?
Well, of course, now you've got trains that run in the push-pull mode. In other words, the diesel is on the outbound end and the train runs in both directions without changing the locomotive from the front to the back. And how that's accomplished is that the last car is a control cab, and they have a cable running through the entire length of the train to the locomotive on the other end, so that when the train goes back from, say, Rockport or Ipswich to Boston, the engineer rides in the front car and he has a full control panel there, much like the Bud cars that we looked at a minute ago. And by operating the throttle and brake in that control car, he's actually controlling the locomotive 5 or 6 cars back in the train, and that locomotive is now pushing. So it looks like the train is running backwards. That's a little tough to get used to.
But I was going to say, Harold, it just doesn't look the same to see that train going backward down the track, does it?
No, we saw a few of them in the steam line, but not many. I mean, that was the day of turntables, and I think most places would turn the locomotive around if it headed in the right direction.
But again, this is another saving on jobs and terminal facilities. I mean, a train runs with equal speed in both directions without having to turn anything around.
Train travel today is as popular as it was back in the 30s and 40s, do you think?
No.
I don't think so.
No.
Judging by the few people that I see getting on and off at Beverly Depot, I would have to agree with you.
Yeah.
I think you've got obviously 2 rush hours in the day, and you've got a generous group of people that ride inbound in the morning and outbound at night, but during the middle of the day there's a comparative handful. People would much rather use their cars.
It would be nice, though, to go back to that mode of travel. It would alleviate a lot of our highway problems, Rich.
Well, I think one of the things that you know was quite noticeable when I come back from the war, the price of the ticket to Beverly to Boston had gone up considerably, and you know I'm used to the commuter wage, when we were going to school.
Sure. Well, you know, those things, this was the beginning of the inflationary period of time in which we're still living to this very day. But any final thoughts now on the age of steam, Rich? I think you have about as an extensive collection of photographs down at the Walker collection as there is around. And what do you think?
Well, of course, it's been gone 40, 45 years, basically. People that are younger than myself really don't remember it because I was 12 or 14 when it went out. So anyone younger than myself by more than a couple of years really doesn't remember it.
No.
And it's something that now that it's been gone that long, you know, looking back on it, you say, boy, I'm glad I did see it.
Yeah.
Because it's something that you'll never see the like of it again. It had a romance to it. It had a drama to it that just is not there in the present day with the present equipment that's running.
True. And we're very fortunate to be sitting next to a man whose many fine photographs are going to preserve for all time, we hope, what it was like to be on those trains, or to at least view them, Harold. Any thoughts, any last thoughts about what we've discussed over the last 3 programs?
Well, I think the only thought I had at the time is I wish I was 10 years older, and I would have picked up a lot of the stuff that was scrapped back in the 20s and early 30s, because that really was a devastating scrapping period. And I like the older type locomotives. As I guess these are my favorites, and the American type is my favorite type locomotive.
Right.
So you got to fall in love with one of them.
Sure.
Just like Lizzie fell in love with the Pacific.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Specializing.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
An era that is gone, but yet it's so much, with so much fondness can we look back on it thanks to these photographs.
Yeah, and I think even subconsciously people remember it, because to this day when parents talk to their children about trains, it's a choo-choo train. And I'm sure that no child has any conception of what choo-choo, what the meaning of that is. And of course it's the sound of the exhaust of a steam locomotive.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that says as much about the era and the inability of our people to let go of it as anything I can think of.
Yep. Well, time goes on, Harold.
Yeah.
And,
well, I would like to say that I am very happy that you have undertaken this endeavor to let the rest of the world know a little bit about, you know, the histories which were maybe 50, 100 years old, or what have you. And it's just like the Conant collection. This is very interesting. I've had a lot of people stop me that I never saw before, and they said, what an interesting program this has been. And so I feel very fortunate of being a part of it, and I guess as we go along we might find some more stuff to do.
Won't that be exciting?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Harold Boothroyd and Richard Symmes, both curators of 2 of the finest collections of photographs I think I have ever seen. Thanks so much for coming on to Beverly's Times Past. And we hope that you folks have enjoyed this 3-part series on the age of steam and as it pertained to the Beverly area. And we'll be back with you with lots more good things as the weeks go by. This is Ed Josephs saying good night for now.